Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. Hope you all had a lovely and relaxing 4th of July holiday. On today's show, we're going to be joined by Sean Udall at 8:35. He is the CIO of Quantum Trading Strategies. But before then, we have to discuss this trading range, the continued trading range in the S&P 500. We have a nice setup we want to discuss in Pfizer. We're going to talk about Tesla, always an interesting stock to watch. So that'll be, those are the big stories in the morning. Anything from our chats, of course, we'll take a look at premarket.benzinga.com and youtube.com/BenzingaTV. So hop in there and throw us a ticker or two, and we will look at it. Joel, tell us what's happening this morning in the S&P 500 futures.
Up and away. S&P futures trading up 21 points. Just looking at the highs from Tuesday, 41.50. The intraday high was 38 even. There's a couple levels to keep an eye on the top of the trading range, as well as 273 in the spider. We'll go over that with Dennis when he comes on in a few minutes. Bitcoin trying to get into that $7,000 handle, but unable to, up $30 at $65.95. Crude continues its assault on $80, up 48 cents at 74.62. Gold back over 350, up $1.80 at 1255.30. And silver back over 17, up almost a penny here at 16.05. Dennis, how you doing? This is a Thursday. I keep thinking it's like a Monday or a Friday, but it's Thursday. How was your 4th of July?
4th of July was excellent. Was actually out on Georgian Bay for the day, did some boating, and just hung out at the beaches for about 6 hours. So It was a nice break from the markets there. So beautiful. Actually, the water temperature was warm too. It's one of the hottest days of the year. So it was a great day to be on the water, great day to be at the beach. Kids love swimming out there. And the cool Georgian Bay water.
What was the water temp?
You know, it's hard to say. I think it was probably close to 80 degrees. So it was warm. Like you get farther out in deeper water, but we're up at the beaches, so it's shallow for a long time. So that's why you really can heat that water up. So I bet you it was close to 80 degrees.
I was going to do a little swim in the Detroit River last week, a mile swim. The water was 68 degrees. I'm like,
well, that's getting a little bit cool.
Yeah. I passed on that.
A little bit too cool.
Let's talk about you tweeted out about the trading range here, and holy moly, this is the range of ranges. We gotta look at this from we could look at it from the spider standpoint. That's what you tweeted out. I don't know if that was yesterday or earlier this morning, but let's just talk about this trading range ahead of the jobs number.
I mean, let's, yeah, for sure. Let's just bring it up there if you can, Spencer. I mean, we have been failing here in the 273s. We talked about this on the show on Tuesday. I keep thinking it was Friday because we've been off for so long for the day and a half. But Tuesday morning show, we talked about, we were struggling up in the 273s. And what happened on Tuesday? We sold straight off, right back to the bottom of the range again. We didn't quite get into the lower 269s. We got down to actually, we got down to 270.10 after hours. So we were trading low after hours. I actually, believe it or not, bought some SPY down there right near the lows after hours as well. We traded till 5 o'clock, even though we closed out 1. We still traded till 5. So I made it a full day of trading for myself. But anyways, yeah, so there was some selling pressure still continued in after hours. And I was like, well, as we get closer to this 269s, I want to be net long. So it's just the range, and that's how I'm playing it now going forward. So we get in the 273s, I'm adding more shorts. We get down to the 269s, I'm adding more longs. And I'm going to continue to play that range until it doesn't work. One thing when you look at it on that chart, Spencer, and you've drawn the night lines nicely there, is just look here, and it kind of looks like a head and shoulders. That's the only concerning thing.
Yeah.
You can really see it well defined there. And I mean, we're not big pattern traders here. So I will still say if we can get above 274, I think we end up going back maybe to the 279 area. But if we continue to meander here and eventually take out 268, that's kind of your neckline. We could be down at 260 and testing the April, May lows in a hurry here.
Dennis. I see that head and shoulders.
Very clean.
There. Yeah, but you know what? It's old. I mean, you can look at charts and you can look at all kinds of different things, but it's the jobs number tomorrow. And it's not so much about the jobs number. It's what the the hourly rate. That spooked the market in February because it was a high number. And I think anything in the 3 handle is going to spook the market. And if it's low, then, the bull continues. But I kind of like the trading range because, once it moves out of this range, we're going to get another really good move. We break above that, that 373, 374, which is basically 2750 in the S&Ps. Well, then you got to think about a move up to new all-time highs, breaking below 2700 with all those pesky lows in that area. Then really you got to start to think about, the February lows, but let the market tell you what to do and kind of keep trying to guess and trade the range, as you said.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm just going to continue to trade that range until it doesn't work anymore. It's worked okay for me on the short side. It actually worked okay for me on the long side and I came in that long just because we'd gotten to the lower end. And I'm going to probably work out of those trades. And if we could get up to 273 on the SPYs, I'll probably start to put more shorts on again too. Again, with any trade, you need to have an out, and the outs are well defined. Get above 274, I don't think I want to be short anymore. Get below 268.5, I don't think I want to be long anymore. So I'm going to trade the range until it doesn't work.
All right, let's since Jason's joined us in the Google chat, and holy moly, that Tesla on Tuesday. What a move. I mean, we had Gene Munster on, right? And he had just some incredible commentary. Lizzie wrote a great little article up, and it was weak. And then, holy moly, brakes. We don't need to test the brakes. Who needs a stinking brake?
I tweeted out, and it was kind of just taken. They just said, on CNBC, the brake test. I mean, it is concerning somewhat. And I think they overblew it because it was a smaller test and maybe wasn't a big deal. But it's just funny, that grabs headlines there. Oh, here's Tesla not testing the brakes anymore to hit the numbers that they want to hit. I mean, that was taken completely out of context because it was a smaller brake test.
Right.
But still being said, I mean, you're going to cut stuff out. The number's that important to hit. Is it that important that you have to hit these 5,000, cars per week? Just because, it's competitive, like Gene Munster was saying, or is it, just something else? I don't know. But if the numbers are that important that you got to start cutting tests, I mean, that seems ridiculous to me. So I think, it was deserved sell-off. That being said, every time Tesla seems to sell off, it seems to find buyers below. And I think as you approach the lower 300s, I think there's going to be a lot of buyers down there.
I listened to that interview again yesterday. You could tell I had a busy 4th of July. And the thing that really stood out to me and listening, Gene, all the comments that he made is he called it a computer on wheels. And, basically, that's what they're working towards. And if that's what they develop, then, yeah, I think there's going to be you got the bullish case there. I just think they got to take their steps with the production and get it up. But I mean, he has a long-term horizon on it. And, it's hard to argue with his projections and his calls. He was actually calling for a little bit lower numbers, but it was a great interview. If you guys didn't get a chance to listen to that, I mean, plenty of knowledge coming from him. And we'll keep an eye. Tesla is rebounding this morning. It's trading up 3.25 in the pre-market. Friday's low is probably something you want to keep an eye on. If we get down there, 309.69, close 310.86. So calling 310 support right now in Tesla Motors. And we got news on the EU that we could keep talking about cars. Spencer, what happened overnight?
Lots of stuff. Got to be more specific than that.
with the tariffs on cars. We're talking autos here.
Okay. That we're trying to, I guess, reach an agreement on that. Is that what the news is? That that the EU has approached several companies, or was it Germany?
Germany has talked about it.
Reaching an agreement.
Yep. Germany has told the country automakers he was asked by Washington to reach a solution between Berlin and Brussels on car tariffs. Supposedly, Washington's going to support lowering car tariffs to zero. It's just tariff talk. And, there was a lot of pressure on the autos last week and the week before based on this tariff talk. And now, boom, as we're looking for it to fill the gap in General Motors, there's good news. General Motors is trading up $1.08 and 40.05. So it's just a tariff talk here. Dennis, are we going to get a chance to buy GM at that 37-38 area? Or
possibly? I mean, the real rally happened overseas in the German automakers, and you can look at, FCAU, which did catch an upgrade today too, but it was already trading up. Over yesterday, it was trading up there because they weren't closed, obviously. So on this news, or this morning, on this news, was already trading higher. It's up 6% FCAU. So you can see the real leaders there. GM and Ford are trading higher here slightly. I don't know if we're going to get a shot on GM or not down there. I think, both of us wanted to see it fill the gap, at least down at 38. Now it's going the other way back up to 40. But again, am I coming in here and really buying anything this morning? Probably not, because this trading range is still pesky. So that impacts all of my decisions on the individual stocks as well. I'm more inclined to short stocks in the, as we approach this 273 area, because it's worked for the last 8 days. So I have trouble coming in here saying, okay, let's buy GM on this news, or let's buy any of the automakers on this news, just because the S&Ps overall are kind of driving price right now. Everything's kind of moving together to a certain extent. Yes, there's going to be individual stock news. Yes, there's going to be individual opportunities still on the long side as well. But I lean on the short side on everything right now until S&Ps can get above 274.
Just real quickly here, FCAU did get that upgrade. It's traded up $1.20, obviously always trading overseas. Keeping an eye on $20 in this one. 1984 was your high on June 21st. And then you have a couple highs at 2060, 2065. So see if we can clear that $20 hurdle. GM back over $40. Got a little bit of overhead supply. Not a lot of resistance if they want to run this thing up to 4080 and 4067. That's a double top from the 28th and 29th. And then Ford just doesn't move, Dennis. $11 here, trading up 14 cents. I don't know, 11 to 12, maybe lean on the $11 bids here by the institutions and take a look at Ford. But Ford's trading up 13 cents at 11.13.
And then speaking of tariffs, just a reminder that today's kind of the day for that, Judgment Day. Beijing has said they're not going to make the first move with regards to tariffs, but then again, their time is ahead of us, so they may just enact their tariffs today. That would be tomorrow, our time. So if we were to enact, tomorrow's our deadline. So if we were to enact tariffs tomorrow, in order for Beijing to be on equal footing, they would have to enact theirs today. So watch for more tariff headlines today and tomorrow.
And that's going to drive price. We're headline driven market here right now. So we can talk about a trading range all we want. We can talk technicals all we want. Obviously, if the trade war fears continue or get escalated here, the market's going to go down. If they ease, the market's going to go higher. So that's your real driver here right now. And that's what could take us out of the trading range on the upside or bring us down on the downside. One thing I will say, Nick Shaheen made a good point on this on Tuesday too, is when you do get a headline, that usually will give you direction, will give you to a certain price. But Joel, we know that's when technicals come into play as well. It's like, okay, well, where does the market want to go from this headline? It might find support where it found support before. It might find resistance where it found resistance before. So even when you get the fundamental data, that'll give you a direction. And now it's a matter of, going to the next resistance or next support. So that's kind of how you can use technicals in conjunction with the fundamental information that you're gathering or the macro information that you're getting from the overall market.
No, it's tariffs on, tariffs off. So
that's all it's driving us right now. It's all tariff talk. Micron, Stock Hunter talking about this one on Friday. And a lot of people got killed in Micron on Friday, including myself, because I have this in my long-term invest portfolio. I kind of wanted to get killed more because I want that shot at $50 again. I could have got it at $50.10. Now, this is the concern, and this is still escalating from obviously different tariff concerns as well. And are we getting into a trade war or not? But it was talk on Tuesday. I keep saying Friday. It was talk on Tuesday that Micron might not be allowed to sell chips in China. Is that correct, Spencer?
Yeah, that was the headline.
It's a big headline.
It's a big, bad headline for Micron. Now, I don't know why it's rallying hard here in the last few minutes. It just took off. It was down, actually, the entire pre-market. So it must have been something said here that, okay, yeah, maybe that was overblown or something. I'm just speculating because I'm doing the live radio show.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Why?
They released a statement that said the litigation, they expect the litigation to impact about 1% of revenue, and they continue to expect revenue to be within their previously guided range of $8 to $8.4 billion. So they don't see it being too much of a headwind.
Okay, I will just say this Micron 55 level, Joel, holy cow. So many highs. Last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know we had a couple little inside days in there, but if you really look here, upper 54s, lower 55s, we keep finding resistance on this thing now. So if for whatever reason we just get silly and go back up to 54.5, 55 again, it's almost a play from the short side up there because this is too much too fast. 50-10 all the way back up. We're 53-20. If I was long, like as a trade, not an investment, that's the difference. Is when I've got this in my investment portfolio, I'm sticking with it. Trying to stick with it for the next 5, 10 years, maybe longer, unless the story changes. When I'm putting them in my trading account, I'm trading them. If I was putting this on for a trade, I would probably be lightening up into this rally. Probably as we get to 54, 55, I'd actually be looking to go short. Long term, I'm still thinking this thing is value, and that's why I'm keeping it in my long-term investment portfolio.
Okay. All right. Let's just take a look at that. Micron did have all that support. We were talking a couple lows at the 52.5 area. Did take that out, went to 50-10. So that we're going to see that today. Dennis has mentioned the 55 area. Just to highlight that, 54.53, 54.79 are your last two highs in the sessions. And then the last time you snuck above 55, you had a 55.35 high. So Dennis is just taking all those numbers and just giving you one nice round number at 55. That's number of Fricon, but that's another $2 away from here. It would take a pretty big rally to get it up there, but certainly can happen.
I think there's people got burned on Tuesday that'll be pretty happy to get a lot of their losses back here today. So I think this rally gets faded. I don't know if we're going to get a shot up at 54 or 55. It's already starting to stall here in the pre-market. It would not surprise me if this thing gets back to gain. So just be careful if you're trading Micron from the long side. I would not be chasing this headline.
Okay. All right. Great support at $50. 50.10 was the low in Micron from Friday. I keep saying Friday, Tuesday.
I do too. And
I'm
it's
going to put a
because you get a day off. You come back from the markets. I got a lot of sun yesterday out there on the beaches. So I feel like I'm almost in a fog here to a certain extent anyways. I applied sunscreen, Joel. I had to do it like 3-4 times when we were out there for the 6-7 hours. I still got sunburned. So, and everybody else too, like that sun was just vicious there yesterday.
Yeah. Okay.
Where were you? Were you out in the sun yesterday?
I was. I swam early in the morning with Lisa, got about 2,500 meters in. And then we hung out and we went over to my brother-in-law's pool and hung out at the pool. But the water was so warm just from the sun. It was hard to, fully immerse yourself. And did grilling just like everybody else. Boy, that grill was hot. S&P futures.
You didn't even need the grill. You just throw it on like a stone and it would cook there.
Real quick.
Get a flat stone.
From the pre-market chat, we got DC asking about AT&T, and that stock is trying. Yeah, it found great support at the $32 area and then snuck down to $31.50. So if you're looking at a swing trade here and you want to lean on the $31.50 area, right there, you got $1.30 trading up 11 cents. I caught major resistance here at 33. You had 3 highs right in that area in the middle of June. And I'm not going to short Comcast, but I might want to short Comcast. My cable went down Tuesday morning, was out for 3 hours, and I was the only one. I was the only one in the entire neighborhood. They're laying.
Why was it down? What happened?
Because they're laying some fiber optic cable, and they happen to have to run it through my yard. And
well, they're gonna give you credit. Ask for credit for those 3 hours.
No, but
and you're trading opportunities. I hate it when internet goes down.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just then use my cellular probably somehow and just trade on my iPad. I'd just grab my cellular data if I was really in trouble. And just try to trade on my iPad if my cable went down.
There was no major trouble. So look at that. And then when you talk about AT&T, you got to talk about Verizon here, trading up 10 cents at 50.80.
And Verizon is performed because they did not do, a big acquisition is what I would say. Obviously the AT&T, we finally get the approval there on the big deal. The stock got hit on that news and, really has struggled to come back since. So if it didn't have that news, of the acquisition actually finally getting approved there, then I think, AT&T would probably be at least 2 points higher than it is right now. So that's kind of what's weighed on it. We know AT&T is, consuming a lot of debt to try to find, different areas of growth here. And I don't know, it's just a big cash cow company that I've still got in my long-term investment portfolio, but it's on the borderline of getting sold because I've had it a long time, done fairly well with it. And I just think competition's still intense. I don't really see where the growth is coming from here. And I think it's going to keep getting cheaper. I think wireless is going to get cheaper as competition comes in. So I think that's going to continue to squeeze margins, which is, I'm attracted to the 6% dividend on AT&T, which looks like awesome. I just think longer term here, can they continue to, keep that dividend? Maybe. But I just think that the growth is not there. And I don't know if I want to go into a stock just for a 6% dividend.
We talk about catalysts for stocks and, get things off the mat or get, some interest in the stock. You got to hand it here to Deutsche Bank and Goldman Sachs. On the 19th, Deutsche Bank upgraded it from hold to buy. I'm talking Verizon here. And then on the 21st, Goldman came in and upgraded it from neutral to buy. So, Deutsche Bank and Goldman Sachs, I don't think you're going to make a whole lot of money, fading their calls in the short term. And the stock has moved up from $48 level to 51. So, there was your catalyst for the rally there. In those stocks, besides, the market rebounding too, a little flight to safety. Astronomy fan, new to the Google YouTube chat, is asking about Roku. And how did that do on Friday? Because I think it had an upgrade or...
the stock is hot again.
Yep.
It's flat out hot. And this is, you can say, oh, you're looking for shorts. I don't know if this is going to be one of them that I'm looking for. I mean, this stock is starting to catch a lot of life. This is a stock I would have liked to be buying on pullbacks, not really selling on rips. And again, I'm just going to say it as a trader. I'm never buying when stocks are up, and I'm never usually selling when stocks are straight down. I'm just not. I'm a little bit short term. You want to know the overall trend. So if the overall trend is up, I'm inclined to buy those stocks on pullbacks. If the overall trend is down on the stock, I'm inclined to sell short those stocks on rallies. Gotcha. So, and especially when we're at trading range. So I'm not looking at coming here and buying Roku here this morning. But I'll tell you on pullbacks, this is a stock that continues to get bought. So, and you can see just even from the range, just 2 days goes down at 40, find all kinds of support. I think this gets down to 42, 43. Buyers all over the place here now. So I like the stock on pullbacks, not chasing anything in this market environment right now, though, just because this is not the environment to chase them.
Next time Larry Glickman in the Google YouTube chat tells us to buy Roku, I'm going to buy Roku. He was all over this stock, was in the mid 30s. He has not, maybe he's taking today off. He has not given me a target on the upside. Looking at the pre-market trading, up 71 cents at 46 and a quarter. Learned our traders that Tuesday's high, 46.73, the all-time high, 47.64, and the all-time closing high, 46.75, which is happens to coincide with Tuesday's high. JVS Ranchers asking about Boeing, and I have not taken a look at that stock. Oh, Dennis, you're going to say that this is looking itchy to the upside here. Look at if it could clear 340. Look at your Boeing chart.
I had to say that looks like the S&P range. That looks like the SPY range from the last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's looking that looks like the SPY to me, where you're finding resistance at 340, you're finding support down 329. So
trade the range.
That's range bound. Trade the range.
Okay. All right. So we covered that for JVS Rancher. Let's move on here.
There was one more. Yeah,
here's a small one.
Which one?
Fuzzy wants to know AQXP. This thing got absolutely annihilated, and I'm not following the story. I have traded the stock before, but what happened a week ago? Because I'm not following closely, went from 15 to $2, assuming bad trial or something.
Yeah, they had a trial that failed to meet the primary endpoint. This is on Wednesday morning.
Okay, so all I will say is these stocks, sometimes, it's found a little bit of life here. It's come back a little bit. So as a trade, sure, I guess, around 270, 85. I mean, it's trying to come back up. But this thing, when these things usually miss these trials and fall 70, 80%, usually when you look at them a year later, they're usually lower again. So I would think if I'm looking at this and taking an over under on, whether this is higher or lower 1 year from now, I will say it's less. And I'll probably say it's under $2 in a year.
They also,
that being said, there could be shortcut. What continue, Spencer?
Yeah, no, I was going to say this. The CEO also said in light of the results that they're going to halt all further development with regards to the drug, and they're going to try to provide some guidance later in the year. But they're looking at some strategic options with regards to this drug and what they can do.
Don't follow the story, but these smaller biotech companies, you're always at risk here.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Okay. Can I do a Dennis tangent?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. This was back in August of 2015. I think Ali helped me with this article. He was an intern. This stock went parabolic and it went to 55.75 in August of 2015.
Wow, I see.
And that was it was something about with prostrate. It was so they were coming up with a new procedure for prostate cancer relief, and so I called a couple, doctors in the area, and they said, man, I just don't know if there's enough evidence out here to support what they're saying. And I remember we wrote this article, and then I saw that Johnson & Johnson cashed out of its stake. And it was around $31. And I'm thinking, all right, not, trial news, no confirmation. Johnson & Johnson's out. I wonder what's going to happen to this thing. And then I got a few negative emails from people that I know that own the stock, and they're saying, this thing's going to $100. And I hope they sold, because here we are at 274. So I have no idea. I posted the article in the chat, though, but AQXP, I remember that story. What is almost 3 years ago, and never was able to recover that level. And actually, it came from $138 in July of 2015. So I'll consider that support if we do get down.
I mean, it's a lottery ticket with a long shot here now, but this is probably one of those that I think eventually tries to go to zero. So I'm not putting my money into something like this. And I don't know much about the story, but I've just seen this story play out again and again and again. When you've got, a stock that's very dependent on one, a trial, that trial misses. So we call them a one-trick pony. And then the stock falls 70 or 80% in a day. It typically doesn't come back. People want to believe it will come back. They will always point out the 1 out of 50 that do. Majority of these things do not come back. So this is probably dead money. Are you going to get short squeezes? Are you going to get a little bit of a pop-up? Could you get back up to $3-4? Maybe. I think 15 is long gone. 14, 12, 10. I don't think there's any chance that it gets ever back there. So I think you probably in the long run, better to eat the loss, take the tax rate off. That's my opinion on AQXP.
Okay. Dennis, I just staying on the biotech here on the pre-market show, we were talking about the performance of the IBB versus the XBI. XBI at all-time highs. IBB in the rally mode, but not quite at all-time highs. And I said price weighted versus cap weighted. You had a better explanation for this move. Why don't you share that with our listeners?
You're just looking at the weeklies and saying that the XBI has outperformed the IBB pretty substantially over the course of the last little while here. Actually, the XBI made new all-time highs back on June 22nd, where the IBB is obviously significantly off. I mean, well, actually, I shouldn't say all-time highs. We got to go a little further. No. You're right. XBI has made all-time highs just recently there. IBB significantly off. If you look at IWM, which is, obviously a lot of smaller companies versus the S&P, kind of see the same story here, where IWM has been outperforming the S&Ps as well. So if you go to the weeklies, IWM has definitely outperformed. So it's a matter of small caps outperforming large caps in the last year, as opposed to, I think, just small cap bio outperforming large cap bios. I think there's a bigger thing here. It's just small caps have been outperforming. And that's typical sometimes in bull runs and, when the market's moving up. We have moved up over the last year and a half. So small caps are outperforming.
Yeah. You notice the same thing, in the IWM versus the S&P. So we'll see who will be the winner in that one. And I just want to take a look at the Sarepta chart. Remember that one day? Where did it go up to? Look, I don't want to bring up the Sarepta to you.
Oh, it's another one, and I messed this one up because when I
Not me.
talked, and you guys are my sounding board here. So when I make bad trades, I like to complain about them on my pre-market show. Anyways, I bought Sarepta. I put it in my investment account at $30, and I'm like, I'm going to hold on to this one because I think it's going to be a good one. And for whatever reason, it popped really fast. It went like 2 days later, it was like 40, and then it was like 38, and it started to leak. And I was like, I don't want to lose this gain. And, I almost got the money too fast. Like I was up like 30% in like 2 days. It was just, luck because, it had some, headline that drove it up. And I'm like, you know what? I got to lock in some of this. And I locked it in and sold. And then I ended up selling the whole thing, which was a mistake. And it pulled back a little bit from that, got down like 36, 35. And I was like, okay, it's looking, if it gets back down to 30 again, I'll rebuy it. Never happened. And now the thing, goes to $176. So moral of the story is, separate your swing trades and your investments. If you say you're buying it for an investment, don't sell it if it goes your way hard, in 2 days, and just say, wow, hard to, not take the 30% gainer in 2 days. Yeah, it would have been a huge gainer for me, up to $170. So
if you just
that was one of the worst. So just like I say, some of my best trades I've lost money in. Some of my worst trades I've made money in. I made money in the Sarepta investment, and it was a terrible, terrible decision by me, a terrible exit.
For who do we want to look at? Earnings for International Speedway reiterates their guidance. Do you have their earnings on them? Who wanted to know about
International Speedway? What's the symbol on that?
ISCA. Who put that in the chat? I swear I'm not making things up here.
Holy
cow,
yeah,
Kiwi 22. Yeah, Kiwi 22, ISCA earnings.
How's this one slipped through? I don't know if I've ever traded ISCA. Was this a different symbol before? This was a different symbol before, wasn't it?
You're gonna have to help me out on this one. I don't know.
I don't know either. I feel like this was a different symbol because I trade everything, and I'm surprised. I don't know if I've ever made a trade on this thing.
Well, the earnings beat, the EPS beat by a penny, 37 versus 36 cents, and the sales came in higher by $2 million, 171 versus 169 million. They reiterated their fiscal year 18 EPS outlook and their sales outlook, both of which were in line with the estimate. So not a ton. I mean, stock, as you can see, is up this morning, but nothing crazy out of those headline numbers.
You can say it's up 10%. You can say, whoa, stocks, I'm really excited. My stock's up 10%. The stock is not up 10%. It traded up 10% on a 100 share lot, went off at $49.90 off exchange. Somebody is already offering at $49.50. The best bid is way down at $46.40. Is the stock going to go up at this morning? Yes, probably, because it's bid up. Is it going up to $50? I don't think so. At least not off the hop. And so that's why you've always got to look at volume and see how active the market is when you're saying the stock is up 10%, because this stock is probably going to be in the 46 or 47 handle, probably not in the 49 handle when it opens here today. Not following the story, so can it take off from there potentially? But I'll just say that 49.90 print makes it look like it's having a really good morning, and that was only 100 shares, and that was off exchange. So a retail trader just got excited, or was somebody painting the tape?
Have you ever been to a car race at one of these big speedways?
No, but I well, you know what? Do you remember Checker Flag? Do you remember Checker Flag in Windsor, Ontario?
No, is that like
a
drag racing track?
You lived right across the border, and you're half Canadian. You never went to Checker Flag? That was like the local speedway there. So I can remember they had like smash up derbies, and they had they had different types of races there. Anyways, funny story is that my house that I currently live in is actually built on that old track. So they got rid of it like 25 years ago. They built a subdivision there. And if I dig in my backyard enough, sometimes I find rubber.
Anyways,
side story. There's a tangent.
I went to one race in Michigan International Speedway, and it's crazy. Like when you go by the fence or something, like if you're walking to go get a soda and those cars go by, it really almost knocks you down. They're going by just so fast in the momentum and the wind. But I don't know where that stock is offered at. Whoever's trading it.
It's 48 now, so it's already given back half the gains on 200 shares. But it's actually bid 48 here now. So maybe somebody's trying to prove me wrong and saying this thing is going up to 50. We're going to make it go up to 50. Anyways, it just took 48.
The stock is going to go around in circles all day.
Spencer with the good one. Nice.
The 2 monthly high.
Set up. This 800 shares wants it. They just went to 48.
They're taunting you, Dennis. They're taunting you.
I want to smack that bid.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I
47.
don't know enough about the story, but I do want to smack the bid. Look, he's coming up 48.40. This 800 shares is hungry here. Maybe they know. Give us the numbers here again, Spencer. I have to contemplate whether I'm going to hit this bid or not.
Don't hit the bid, Dennis. Don't do it.
Hit the bid. Isn't that Kenny Glick? Oh, no.
Someone hit the bid?
60 just changed off exchange.
All right.
Some off exchange market maker just took them.
40.
Oh, there's no bid now. It's 46.10, the best bid.
Okay.
I knew I should have hit the 48.40.
47.45 was
going lower.
47.45 was the all-time high back in February. So that's a level to keep an eye on. We're a minute late. We're going to bring Sean Udall in here for a few minutes. We're going to bring him in on the fly. He's going to give us a little bit of market talk, and then he's going to give us a couple stocks he likes on the upside and a couple stocks on the downside. We're bringing in Sean Udall.
Hello, gents.
Hey, how you doing, Sean?
I'm good.
Did you have a good 4th of July? Did you get out there and hit the ball a little bit?
I didn't hit the ball. I hit the pool.
Good for you. Good for you. Hey,
yeah.
I did get out and play a few rounds, so I'm you're probably only going to have to give me a stroke a hole when we play.
Hey, well, we'll have to do that one of these days.
Okay. General market thoughts, heck of a trading range. Me and you have been talking about, a possible breach of the downside here. Head and shoulders in the S&P, job numbers tomorrow. I mean, they're trying to shake the bears here, holding 2,700. Just give us your quick thesis on the overall market.
Yeah, well, I actually think this was a very, very good little short-term bounce. I call this a sentiment bounce because what basically happened is we had it was kind of a big sell-off out of nowhere to some. It was you and I were expecting it pretty aggressively. And then it's almost like a surprisingly strong bounce, but sentiment got really extreme really fast. And so, you see that a lot. You see a reflex bounce. I think we're going to bounce, and then I think we're going to go lower. And in fact, you have a very sharp move higher in sentiment just in like 3 or 4 days. Again, this is pretty classic. I think we talked about this a while ago. We literally could be in a trading range for the whole year.
True. Yeah.
So, and we're pretty close to the top of the trading range again. But certain things, like if you start looking at global indices, a lot of global indices are actually not acting very well, and some of them are like in bear market territory actually. So we're starting to also get a big outperformance stretch in the U.S. versus like rest of the world. So that's another kind of concerning thing over the coming weeks.
Okay, trade the range and until it doesn't work. All right, give us a couple picks. Give us a couple bullish picks here. And I'm not just talking today. I know what I like about talking to you, Sean. You have a long-term horizon on your issues. And even though you might think there'd be some weakness in the overall market, there's still stocks that you're accumulating for a long-term play. Could you give a couple of those and talk about your setup?
Yeah, in fact, a couple.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Your setup, maybe your stop and maybe your target if you have those available.
Yeah, a couple recent buys, in fact. So my new favorite small mid cap growth stock is Redfin. I think I've mentioned that before. RDFN.
Yep.
Yeah. Hasn't really done a lot, but also hasn't really hurt anything. I'm profitable in it, even though it hasn't really moved much. But I'm kind of playing two things here. I'm playing IPO kind of post-annual, when IPOs, they're like babies, even if they're really good, they still, when they're trying to walk, they still bump their head on things. They still fall over. They still cut their chins. They just kind of trade weird. But this is getting pretty close to getting seasoned enough that I think that it might start trading better naturally. The other thing is, we're talking about a stock that, again, I think I mentioned this. If you compare this to like, just say an Adobe, this thing trades at like an 80 to a 90% discount to Adobe on a growth adjusted basis. So when things get this cheap, again, on relative valuation, you can have huge moves. So let's say I'm wrong. I don't think there's a ton of downside. But if I'm right, this isn't like 20, 30%. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4 bagger type upside potential, and on literally just a catch up play. And then the other two, you asked me for 3. I'm going to throw you Finisar and I'm going to throw you Qualcomm. And then if you want a real specky name, and I just bought this recently too, is ACAD, ACAD. So, but my top 3 would have to be Redfin, Finisar, Qualcomm. If you made me pick 3, those would probably be it for weeks, months, and maybe even quarters.
Okay. And
Sean, you don't usually jump into the pharma stocks though. ACAD's a pharma stock, aren't you usually tech?
Yeah. Well,
so,
I mean,
so why this play? I just want to
biotech.
hear the story on this one because I don't follow the story.
Yeah, I hit biotech. I mean, I was, in fact, I was one of the few people that really liked Juno. If you remember Juno.
Yeah.
And I really liked that when everybody was beating on it. And damn, I didn't keep it for a quad, but anywhere from 2 to 3x, I ended up making on Juno.
Nice.
This is sort of similar, except it's actually less risky. ACAD has an approved drug. So it's not a big seller, but they do have an approved drug. It's in the what I call the muscular degenerative space. That horrible space of wasting diseases and or Alzheimer's, right? So you got the ALS, Lou Gehrig, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all that stuff. They got an approved drug to treat dementia in Parkinson's. But the drug potentially could be approved for lots of other things. So, but it's not enough sales to get them to profitability. But it's, they had like 0 sales effectively before, and I think now they're run rating at 200 or 300 million a year. So this is a funny thing. If you look at this, so look what people did. They loved it before they had anything approved. I think there were analysts like with $40 and $50 and $60 targets. And now they got an approved drug with like 200% sales growth. And I think the high targets, I don't even know what the high target is, but the analyst love is almost nowhere to be seen. So this is sort of like classic hilarity for me because, the drug, the company is actually in way better shape now. It's got the same pipeline it did 2 years ago and arguably better because as you know, once you get one approval, typically your odds of getting more approvals go up. So, it just sort of sets up nice for the way I like to play biotech, where they kill these things after they get an approval because I guess the analysts don't like 200% growth because they wanted 230% growth. So, again, some of this stuff is so lunatic. It's hard to make sense of it. So I try to take advantage of the lunacy, if you will.
all right. Are you giving up on FireEye yet? I mean, here's the stock.
I'm not. And in fact, it was funny. I don't know if I've ever said this is like a top 3 name. But I do like it. And I actually like it more here than I did a while ago, simply because it's dropped about three points off of highs.
I want to just interrupt you, Sean.
Oh, go ahead.
That's just, that's why we respect you so much, because you're not afraid to be wrong for a while. You're the kind of guy, the stock, hey, I like the stock. It's getting cheaper. I like it more. There's so many people that actually a stock starts going down, then they start hating it because it's going down. But you know what? You stick with your calls. And, sometimes you take some heat on them, but hey, just like the Twitter call, you took some heat on that one, but hey, you know what? You ended up being right. So you stick with this Sean Udall guy long enough, he ends up being right.
Yeah, well, you don't want to be right for 30% if it takes you 3 years to get 30%. but if you're right for 200%, that's okay, right? So FireEye has been an underperformer for me. There's no doubt. At the same time, I have made pretty decent money trading it. I mean, if you trade a stock and clip 2 or 3 points like 10 times, and the price of the stock is only $15, I mean, how much percentage return is that on top of your shares? You know what I mean? So, I made a lot of money trading FireEye. The core position hasn't. But this is just sort of one of these weird things. I mean, not to spend too much time on it, they're arguably doing way better than they were a couple years ago. And yet, the only thing I can really find of why to sell FireEye is if you need money from the security space to go chase some of these hot IPOs. That's the only thing I can really think of. Their last 3 quarters have been pretty good. My guess with FireEye is the ultimate worst case is they end up just sort of giving up and selling for what would be a big premium over current prices. But I mean, they would be an excellent. I mean, I've long said that Microsoft should probably buy them. And, I think a deal price would probably be like north of $28. I mean, that's worst case. I still think the stock will kind of get, will just get rewarded for steadier, slower growth over time, which they've been producing. So we'll see. But yeah, no, I mean, my price target on the same is like $35. So, and again, that would be trading at a huge discount to like a Palo Alto Network. So some stocks never really trade where they're supposed to trade.
Will you short it, Sean? Will you?
Always,
will you? I mean, I know you said you clip it and you try and day trade it. I mean, do you see setups? I mean, because this is one ability that Dennis really has, and like if he's long a stock, you won't short it. Will you short it?
It's at a setup right now because you've got a 3-4 point pullback off the recent high. I think a very easy trade is to buy it in the 15s and sell it in the 18s. So there's $3. It's not a day trade though. I mean, when I catch these, usually they're anywhere from days to weeks, like a 4-day to a 2-week trade. In fact, so the setup here might be to buy some. If you get a 3-4 point run into the earnings report, you basically get a no risk sell off, meaning you don't even have to hold it through the earnings report. You might get a $3-4 gain.
Do you know SYNA at all? Synaptics? We're getting asked by
that.
Yeah.
Know?
Okay.
Yeah, I like that name a lot. That's
fill in the gap. Tell us about Synaptics, and then I want 1 or 2 shorts from you on your radar.
Yeah. Okay. So Syna is kind of the same thing. It's a really beaten up chip name, which trades at just a crazy valuation discount to most semiconductors. I mean, there's talk that there is deal talk out there from a company called Dialog Semi. That's a little strange because if the two companies were to merge, it would look like Syna would be the buyer of Dialog, not the other way around. But you never know. Dialog may have partners in deep pockets, and they may be able to get a lot of financing. So, I mean, you have a potential deal. The Syna rejected, I think, was it a 59 or a 62? They rejected some. The articles are out there. They rejected a bid already for a lot higher than where the stock is trading. But I think Syna is worth sort of like 75 to 90 on its own. Because you basically have a company that's going to go from trough earnings to peak earnings. And they're actually coming into a better cycle. They've been kind of counter-cyclical in the semiconductor space. So, yeah, no, I like that name a lot. And I haven't bought any recently. I think in my last buys were, I want to say low 40s, like 42, 43-ish. And then I sold that pop. And, if it got down another couple points, I'd probably start buying it again.
All right, give us 1 or 2 shorts, and we'll let you go and get you ready. Three shorts. 3 favorite shorts:
Adobe, Newer, and IGV. IGV being an ETF or an ETF that basically owns a bunch of stocks like Adobe and Intuit and CRM IGV, and basically all these extremely overvalued cloud stocks.
Actually, someone was asking about IGV here in the chat, and I think they were looking at it from the bullish side. But these cloud stocks, I mean, Adobe, Red Hat, you just think they're a little bit overdone. Certainly, Red Hat has not rebounded from its earnings. Where Adobe, I mean, it's trading $243.50 here. I mean, do you have a downside target for it? Looks like major resistance at 245. What where you looking to bring in your short on this one?
Well, short term would be, this is a stock that could drop 40% and still be expensive. So, you have actually quite a few of these cloud stocks that literally could drop 35 to 50%, and they would still trade at very substantial premiums to a lot of other companies that they compete with. I could see Adobe trading, under 120 again. But that would take a series of bad quarters, right? But basically, it's funny you mentioned Red Hat, because what just happened to Red Hat? Did they have a terrible report? No, but people are now starting to say, well, wait, what if I have to value Red Hat at its actual growth rate, as opposed to valuing Red Hat as a theoretically much higher growth rate if they don't miss a quarter? So in other words, I actually think a lot of these companies are going to start having quarters that are okay. But if they miss by a penny here and there, if they miss by a few million in revenue, all of a sudden you can't value stuff at these astronomical premiums anymore. So I actually think the risk of earnings misses is starting to increase. A US dollar is kind of a headwind looking out. But again, if Adobe just has a quarter like Red Hat, you tell me what they're going to take it to.
All right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could drop 20 points, 40 points, 80 points, somewhere in there. But yeah, you look at Red Hat, basically just take this percentage drop in Red Hat and apply it to almost any name that hasn't had a big sell-off or an earnings miss for like 6 to 8 quarters in that cloud space. That's easy enough.
Okay. Sean Udall, Chief Investment Officer at Quantum Trading Strategies. Follow on Twitter at Udall Tech Strat. Sean, great input. I like your bullish. I like your bearish calls and, overall just giving market sentiment. Thanks a lot. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Starting to leak a little bit here in the S&Ps. We are 4 points off the high. Nothing to be alarmed about. 35.75 represents your pre-market high. I was kind of hoping for Tuesday. You have a couple highs on Tuesday. You had the intraday high at 27.38. And then Tuesday's Globex high at 41.50. But I think you're just going to see a little seesaw two-way action here ahead of tomorrow's big jobs number. Dennis, any imbalances here? Any interesting imbalances?
They're not strong. And that's, I think, a
Really?
little reason for the slight leak after 8:30. There's nothing jumping out at me and saying, whoa, look at all these big buy imbalances. They're actually mixed. Now, there is some. Alibaba 65,000 to buy. Square has 109,000 to buy. Those are significant. GE, your eternal sell imbalance, has 129,000 shares to sell, despite the market being up, as much as it is. So that stock's still the dog of all dogs. But I mean, they're not really jumping out at me and saying that they're, hungry to buy at these institutions. Not at least at 8:30. It's going to change. You're going to see some buy imbalances as long as the market holds up here. But again, I'm skeptical of the follow through. So this is one, you get up near 273. I think you're going to find sellers again. People are starting to identify this range that we've been talking about for the last couple of days, and I'll continue to talk about it. I'm going to trade the range until it doesn't work. So when we get it closer to 273, I'm going to lean on some more shorts. When we get down to the 269s, I'm going to lean on some more longs.
All right. As far as ratings go, I have a big call here in Facebook from BTIG. They raised their price target from 175 to 275.
Whoa.
Yeah. They said Instagram has become an absolute monster in terms of growth and engagement. The analyst was impressed by the amount of content and innovation of said content on IGTV. So that's a pretty bullish price raise here. Dennis traded up 237. I was hoping to see 192 on Friday and Tuesday, and we got to 192.52. So doesn't look like we're going to get any 192 bids here. Dennis, trading just under Tuesday's high, 195.40. After that, a triple top at 197.5. Dennis, any thoughts here?
Yeah. You get up there near that 197. I'm a seller.
Okay.
So I'm fading this BTIG call. I hope it can go higher there so I can actually initiate a short on it. Just there's lots to lean on. It's overhead supply here. I think, I like it from the short side. I do think, if the market starts to collapse, you're not going to get that shot. But, things get silly. If the market goes into rally mode, we get up in the 273s in the SPY, you might get a shot up at 197. But I'm a fader. Even at 195.10, if I was long this thing, I'd ring the register right now. But I'd like to get it higher before I initiate the short, just simply because right now, if I short at 195.10, I kind of got to give it to that 197.5. So I got to give it like $2.50. And then, so then I want like a 5-point risk reward. It's just a little bit too much for my taste. So I'd like it a little bit higher before I actually initiated a short on it. But I have no interest in going along this name right now. Not when there's some unknowns out there too.
I just wanted to mention this stock. Sean, it's one of the conversations I had with Sean. He didn't mention it today because he's not quite totally convinced on it. But he's eyeballing Snap. Believe it or not. As it's come off that, wow, man, how many lows did it put in there? Boy, some institution stepped up at 10.50, got over 14. And it's not like and it's not this quarter or next quarter or whatever. He just thinks that, they're going to get some market share there, whether it's from Facebook or Google. And he kind of feels like it's kind of perhaps a Twitter story. He's not, putting out any super bullish recommendations on it or anything, but, just a snapback rally, I guess, in Snap, Dennis. And
I tried to play this long on that headline a week and a half ago. Was the headline that they were going to get into gaming. And I was like, you know what? That's exactly what they need to do. They've got a good user base. They can get, into gaming a little bit here. I think Facebook should get in more into gaming too. I know they have some of it, but that's where they need to start focusing, because this gaming, this esports stuff that we've talked about is for real. I think, if they, can start to, monetize that from a gaming perspective, I think that's the way for them to go. And I actually went long it, and I was up, and it took off on that headline. So the headline broke, and I was like, that's a good headline for Snap right there. So I bought it at like 13.20 or something. Went up to 13.60, I think, that day. Came back in, and you know what? It was a victim of the market. The market just started collapsing. But you know what? Even as much as the market has, been in a trading range of vol, this is finding buyers too. And you know what? I can get on board with the story here. 13.20, I can get on board. I'm no position for me yet, as long as it holds above, and I'm going to say the low of the move, back at 12.66. So if I'm going in this for a swing trade, I don't want to own it below 12.66. But that would be my risk. If I was buying it at 13.20 here today, I would want to stop it below 12.66. So your setup would be basically a 50-cent risk trade. So if you want 2-to-1, you got to get at least $1. So you'd be trading back to the 14.47 high, maybe somewhere in there. I usually like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 even. So I would love it to get up to 14.15. But I can get on board with that as long as you're willing to sell it if it goes back below 12.66. But there are some buyers in here right now. There's some accumulation here right now. It hasn't been down as much as the market has been down in the down days. It's trying to kind of drift higher here. I think that headline helps it. So I'm kind of on board on just as a swing trade, not investment still, because I don't know, it's a valuation issue for me long term. But as a swing trade, I don't mind it here.
Just out of the Google chat, someone's asking about PVTL. I don't see any news on it. Just if you're wondering why it's trading up 60 cents, is because an odd lot traded 16 shares, 109 shares. So it's just up on an odd lot. The stock had a gap and go after earnings. Now coming back down. I mean, go with the buyer here at 24 if you want to be on the long side. Recent low since it made the high was 23.51, but someone loves the stock at 24.
This is the same thing with the IQs and stuff. This was, a fairly recent IPO. These things all got super hot, went parabolic there a month ago or 3 weeks ago. And we know HUYA topped out. All these other ones topped out. They're trying. So all these trade together. IQ, even though they're nothing to do with each other, they're all trading together. IQ, Pivotal, PVTL, HUYA. BILI is another one which has really been hit hard, or SOGO that we were talking about for a while too. They all kind of were trading together. They're all trying to base here a little bit so they become interesting. So I would say, go with Joel. There is a buyer, some accumulation here in the 23.5, 24. If it starts making new lows on the move, if it goes below 23.51, I want no part of this, because I think if it goes below 23.51, it could be at $20. So if you're going to play it, give it a tight leash. I can fully get on board with, buying it here if that's but if it's going to be one that you're going to stick in your long-term investment account and not look at it again, I think you won't be happy with it. But as a swing trade here, it's kind of interesting from the long side. IQ as well. I mean, it's held the 30. So you know where your stop out is. I mean, if you're buying IQ, you got to give it a little bit more. This is the tough one on this one. It's 33.5 here this morning. And you kind of got to give it to the recent low of 30.20. So really you got to stop up below 30. So setting up a 2-1 risk reward ratio on that, I mean, I got to basically get it up to 39.40. It's a little tougher trade to take from a risk reward perspective, but the Pivotal is not a bad setup. The HUYA setup's not that bad either. Again, I would stop up below the 29.75. So again, you see how my mind frame works, with trading. I never look first. The first thing I look at when I look at a trade is where am I getting out if it doesn't work my way. So I have an idea of going long. Now I want to know not my target. I'm not looking at how much money I'm making on it. I want to know where am I cutting it out. And then I get my target from that. So on HUYA, if I was going long it today at 31.70, which I'm not, but if I was, I would say below 29.75, I'm stopping out. So I got to give it $2. That means risk reward 2-to-1. I want to make $4. So I want this thing to get back up over 36. It's, there's a lot of overhead supply at 34, 35 though. So my setup isn't there. Gets down below 30. Maybe I can manage the risk reward a little bit better though. I don't have to give it $2 anymore. I can only give it $1 and maybe I can, try to nibble on there. But again, the longer these things take to really rally from here too, there's a better chance they're going to take out the floor. So that's, why I'm not long any of these things right now. But if you want to take a shot, just make sure you stop out I don't like being long stocks that are making new lows.
And a couple things to note. I mean, you also can look at the HUYA and you can kind of see a head and shoulders top, not much of a left shoulder, a little bit of a right shoulder building. And also, when you ran up from 30 to 50 last time, there were no sellers, right? Because no one really bought there and the shorts are scrambling to cover. Now you start to go back up 35, 40. There's people scratching their head all the way up to 50 that want to try and get out. So it won't be that kind of vacuum that you had last time. All right, 9 o'clock here. Dennis, S&P's up 1875 at 2732. I think you've kind of reiterated your stance for today. Anything else you would like to add?
Just quick look at imbalances here. Again, the GE sell imbalance grows 318,000 shares. I'm going to stick with my theme. I think GE is going to retest the 1261 low back on the 21st. I think eventually GE is in single digits. So I'm a seller of all rallies in GE. Jumping over to Ford, 111,000 to buy. That's somewhat significant. It's up one of the weakest ones here this morning, really, when you're looking at the, all the automakers. Some of the other ones caught a pretty good bid. Ford's not catching nearly as much of a bid. I'm trying to really find where the strength from this market is coming from here. And I'm not, tech is strong. So, you get a stock bounce back like Micron, which is bouncing significantly on their headline. I'm seeing a lot of strength in tech this morning. So that is kind of what's leading us back. Oil is really strong here this morning again. I mean, oil has been a monster. We didn't talk about it today on the show, but, we really, took off here a week and a half ago and we haven't looked back. Here we are. We're bouncing up here again this morning. It was an ugly candle on Friday. So that's one warning here on, if you're just trading oil on the USO itself. Had a little bit of an ugly candle. It opened high and gave it all back. Now we get a pop up. I think you got some sellers up there. So if I was short-term long oil here, I might be ringing the register a little bit at this point in time because it's been a pretty good move. Long-term, I'm still sticking. I've got a lot of oil investments in my long-term investment portfolio. Still sticking with those.
Yeah, same here. I just want to alert our traders to $74. Let's just call it 74 even. It's not the high or the low for the day. We've been swinging it around pretty good. But you have the high close of the move at 74.15. Tuesday's close 74.14 and Monday's close at 73.94. So you're starting to get a bunch of closes in the same area. To me, that could, signify another turning point. Hold 74. You have to go with the momentum going on the upside. It doesn't hold 74 here. I don't see any major support until you get to the trio of lows at the 72.50 area. Spencer, you want to wrap things up and preview Friday's show?
Yep. Looking ahead to our final show of the week, we'll be joined tomorrow by a new guest, Dan Russo. He is the chief market strategist at Shaken Analytics. Previously spent 9 years at Needham, and he'll join the show tomorrow. So Dan Russo. But I want to say thanks to our guest today, Sean Udall, for stopping by with us, giving us 15 minutes of his time. Thanks to all of you who joined us in our chats on YouTube and on PreMarket.benzinga.com. You can rewatch the show on YouTube or catch the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or Google Play. And that's going to be it for our show today. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. Hope you guys have had a good morning. Hope you have a good rest of your day. And we will see you folks on Friday.